Hello, hello. We are on day 3, so let me give people a moment to hop on. I'm getting on time today. There I am. When you're jumping on, let me know if you can hear me. Let me see, maybe I can turn this. Okay, cool. Yes, perfect. All right. So I can see me and hear me. Yay. Woohoo. All right. It looks like it's recording, but it's not showing timing on there, so. Oh well, I'm just going to trust that all is well. So, day 3. So today I got my goddess archetype was connected. I was connecting in with my goddess just before I hopped on, so I got my lovely goddess necklace, which part of it is tucked down there. It's Isis, who's one of the goddesses that I really connect with. And then also, I might not keep this on the whole time, but this is, it's interesting because on Tuesday, which was yesterday, only on Wednesday, a lot of stuff going on this week, really cool stuff, but fun, but a lot of stuff. So I interviewed spiritual nature artist and healer and teacher Nancy Blyer on Light Up Your Life yesterday, and she makes some amazing power tools. And actually this headpiece I made at a goddess retreat that I went to, I think it was 2013, and she taught me, like I made it in a group, so I made it under her tutelage. Is that the word? All right, so let me see if I can. Hi, Lily. All right, I'm going to paste the link down the bottom right now to share. So today, there's still opportunity. So if you share today's, the link for today. So today, this is in a private group. So if you tag people that aren't in the group, they're not going to be able to see it unless you invite them into the group. But if you do share the link for this masterclass, I am going to be sending out the replays. So even though we're on day 3, even if people haven't seen it yet, even if people jumped in right now and didn't see the first 2, they could still benefit from seeing this one, because there's just, each day could be in and of itself its own class without the context necessarily, perhaps. So I just popped that down in the links. So if you, I'm going to pin it. Let's see, hopefully that worked. All right, so I think that worked. Yay, I'm getting so smoking fart. All right, so if you share that, so 2 ways again today, and I will be sharing the winners from yesterday in a moment. So 2 things that if you share this class, the master class on your Facebook page or Instagram or somewhere else, you will have a chance. You'll be entered in a drawing, and each day it's been something different. The first day was the Carolyn Mace archetype cards, which are awesome. And I did not say what today's prize was, but now I will. It's actually Archangel Metatron deck Self-Mastery Oracle, and it's pretty awesome. So I will be announcing the winner of that in a moment. And smucking fart. Ha, I love it. All right, hi Jessica, hey, hi Dana, good, I'm seeing comments. Yay, I know the other first day I kind of missed some of those. Shared in a Facebook post. Thank you, Jessica. Woohoo, I'm getting the hang of this, and we are like doing good today. We're on here instead of my phone, and I'm seeing the comments, so we'll keep going with that vein. All right, so day 3. For anybody that, I know you guys have been here with me the past few days, which I appreciate, and it's just fun to have people here live and people watching later. But if anyone new watches, I'm just going to say that I'm NancyAnger, intuitive coach, master energy healer, and the creatrix of Embrace Your Archetypes. Embrace your archetypes, and the sacred keys to live a life you love. And I think I'm going to take this off think my third eye has had enough of that for the moment, but it was fun to wear. Wasn't really a long-term jewelry wear kind of a thing, though, I think. So, all right, so just give me a minute here to pull this up, and then I'm going to be, oh, there we go. All right, so today, what are we talking about? We are talking about the 4 archetypes that everyone has. So as you probably remember from, I think I probably mentioned in day 1 and day 2, we have 12 primary archetypes when we are born. And there's other ones that can influence us, and everyone has, different archetypes in that, but we have 12 primary. 8 of them are unique to us, and then 4 of them everyone has. Now, one of those 4, there could be a little bit of variation, which I will get to in a little bit. But that's what we're going to be talking about today. And as I've said in, I think, other days, like, most people don't even know about the archetypes, or that they're working and that they're there, but they influence every single thing in your life. These particular, Carolyn Mace calls them the survival archetypes. But the other side of survival is thriving, right? So when you start to understand them, it's such powerful information. So if you're watching the replay, #replay, all right, so I'm going to announce the winners from yesterday, and thank you for everyone that's been sharing the links and everything. So the winners are, from yesterday, the winner of the card deck is someone that actually popped on after the call and commented and shared, and that is Cindy Leonard is the winner of the Archangel Metatron deck. And the winner of the 20-minute free archetype call with me is Lily Laura. So I will reach out after with a link and information. So congratulations to Lily, and to, why isn't her name? I just said her name, Cindy. So congratulations, Cindy Leonard. There's another Cindy that's been on here too. So let's see what other comments. Ooh, love those. Yeah, the cards. Yes. All right. So let's see what else. So you still have a chance for, what I'm giving away today, which I'll announce it tomorrow, because I want to give people that couldn't jump on live, I want to give at least 24 hours for people to have a chance to share and to comment or to participate, even if they couldn't participate live. But it will be a different prize for, yay, I love that. I love the support of each other. So it will be a different prize, and it's actually going to be a book that was written in like the 40s or something like that, but I just came across it. You are welcome. Yes, you too, Lily. So I just came across it like a month or maybe 2 or 3 months ago, and already I've gotten had some super powerful shifts from it. So some lucky winner will be getting that tomorrow. So just all you have to do to be entered to win is to share the link and just let me know below that you shared it. And if you share it more than once, let me know. I will put you in more than one time. Okay. So what is one takeaway or aha that you have gotten, or something new that you've learned so far from this class? So if you can just share or pop that in the comments, what do you think you have? What's something that you have noticed so far? And I will say what was coming through too, that I've said and really learned, and I think really understood myself more this in the past few months, is the importance, like when we learn things, the importance of also implementing what we learn, because we can read books and take classes and do things, but until we actually start to implement it, it doesn't make as much of a difference until we do. So, all right, so let's dive in. Let me see if anybody answered anything yet? Okay, so maybe if you think of something after and you pop it in and just let me know of any epiphanies that you had so far. All right, so the 4 archetypes, again, they are very potent. They make a huge impact. And as I've dedicated a module to each one of them in and of themselves. And I've been working with the archetypes for 11 years, and they're definitely like, there's always more to unpack. But as you start to understand them, it's really cool. So, all right, so what's the first one? All right, so the first one is the victim archetype. And some of these don't have very sexy names, by the way. But when you really understand, like, what is the opposite? So the victim archetype is, probably you can kind of understand it just when I say it, right? But what is the light side is victorious, right? How am I not a victim? I know Carolyn Mace, I remember listening to one of her recordings. I've written some of her book, read some of her books. She is like, knows a lot about the archetypes. She's someone in this time period that is really well versed in the archetypes. And she said one of her things is, how is this the best thing that's ever happened to me? And it's one thing to say it, but it's another to know it. And I can say from my own personal experience that sometimes some things are tough. Some things are like, it just feels like, you know, and we are a society that kind of perpetuates in a way. I remember going down to Florida. I had a house down there, like a vacation house for a while, and you drive up the roads and the amount of legal advertisements on the side of the road for all kinds of stuff, right? And that is kind of promoting victimhood. Now, I'm not saying that there, you know, I think people need to, you know, if there's things that happen in life that we might need to hold someone accountable for, but that's very different than actually having like the victim mentality or the, you know, being in the shadow of the victim. So the victim archetype, so you can feel it or you notice that you're in this shadow at least anytime you're feeling disempowered somewhere in your life. And I've had times when it feels like that a lot. Oh, I just looked at the clock, 444, angel number. But when situations, while they might come up where you feel like it's just not fair and we can feel all kinds of emotions and etc., that's some clues that the victim archetype has made an appearance. And one of the gifts that I've found with it, with anything really over the years, is, you know, it's never about anyone else. It's about how am I responding? Like when I'm, so years ago, so this is one big occurrence in my life, we'll say. So I had a yoga studio, and at one point it was in a mill, and it was in there for several years. And then one day the mill caught on fire and burned to the ground. There was 61 businesses in there. It was July 21st, 2007. It was one of my daughter's 17th birthday. And it was like, oh, you know, somebody called me, I went there, I watched the fire, and I could tell right away, like, oh, my studio is right there where it's burning. And it was a big mill, but it really started kind of in the area where my studio was. So in a way, it was a blessing because I didn't really hold out hope after that. And I processed it. I felt my emotions. You know, because it was a little like, whoa, this is like a really big thing. But I really can't say that I don't remember ever really feeling like a victim from it. I felt like, oh, this is kind of a bummer, but some part of me really, it was the universe was kind of, for myself anyway, this was my experience, was pushing me out of the nest. I had been like I was meant to grow and do something more, but I was kind of comfy. So I honestly, I ended up in a better situation and a better space. Did I go through some challenges and some learning? Absolutely. But I got so many miracles came out of it. And because I wasn't feeling like really just a victim of this, I was actually able to see all the amazing miracles that came out of it. So, and earlier this year, I shifted like a huge thing from like something from childhood, a person that was involved with very young. He was a child too, like a few years older. Died earlier this year unexpectedly. I haven't seen him in years, but I saw it in the paper. And I actually sat with it, processed it over the course of a few weeks, and transmuted that energy. I do not feel like a victim from that situation, and I actually see it now. I love that person. I feel like it was actually a sacred event, and I'm not saying that anybody else has to feel that way about what, we feel what we feel in our life, but it was such a powerful thing when I was actually able to shift and transmute a situation. And that is like, the victim is so powerful. And it's not, we have to be where we're at. It's never about trying to pretend that we are somewhere else, that we are not at, that we're feeling something at. All sides of my personality. Yeah. So anyway, so victim is one of them. And it's just, as you hear these, you just start to become aware of it. So what I do when I notice the victim showing up, which sometimes it can happen a lot, is like, isn't that curious? So, and this was really kind of coming through earlier today too, but I was kind of getting reminded, like sometimes it can be like a pattern, an addictive pattern, or just a habit that we don't even realize. It literally, this stuff can be in your DNA. Thanks for I don't know if that was a love heart shower, but I saw something, so thank you. But this stuff can be in our DNA. It's just like patterns that are literally in our DNA that, from our family, our ancestors, and and from the collective. Like I just said, down in Florida are all the billboards and the ads, and I don't watch that much regular TV, but I've seen advertisements in Florida actually a lot of. I don't know what it is about that area. Maybe there's other areas too, but the Florida definitely, I saw a lot of that there. And I remember years ago, I had my boyfriend, his brother was off on disability, and he was pretty young, and I think it was temporary, but I remember he was in this weird catch-22 because it was like he was almost kind of stuck in this situation, because if he tried to go to work, it would affect him, like his money or something. It was just, so anyway, so the victim is the first one, but like I said, this stuff can be in our DNA, and it's in the collective consciousness, right? These archetypes, they're like an energetic consciousness that holds the collective energy of all the people that are connected to it. And if everyone has the victim archetype, then everyone is connected. Okay, so let me see. Loss of job due to COVID, stay at home, loss of breadwinner role, and loss of purpose. Yeah, so these things can be like tough, right? And I'm not minimizing anything anyway, in any way, shape, or form. It can be tough, and we have to feel whatever we feel and really honor that. Whatever we feel, it's important to really honor that. And and to not try to push something away that we're feeling. However, there's also the other side that like, I wonder how this is, sometimes we don't see right away. Sometimes things can take a long time, but there's always something underneath it. And I was blessing in disguise. So what you just said, Jessica, so years ago, my daughter, just 2 weeks before she was born, I was a stay-at-home mother. I had a 2-year-old at that point, and my husband got laid off from his job 2 weeks before she was born. He was the breadwinner. He's got a new child coming, and now it's going to be a family of 4, and he got laid off, and he was devastated. And it was tricky for a while. It was tough. Part of it was just hard on him, like emotionally, because he couldn't believe that he got laid off. But over time, we bought a business. He started his own business, and that wasn't like, we ended up selling that one. But to this day, which is now, my daughter is 31. My husband, amazing business that we would have never had if that did not happen. But it was really tough in that moment. but it ended up being like a blessing in disguise. It's just sometimes when things in the moment, it can be a challenge, right? So, all right, so that is one of them, and I'm just, so years ago, if any of you remember Dr. Phil, right, it's been a while, he used to say, so if you're feeling like a victim, you can ask yourself, what's the payoff, right? And sometimes sometimes the victim can partner with our child, like, because don't we all sometimes just want someone else to take care of it and fix it for us? Yes. So, and that's okay to feel that way and admit it and know it. I remember years ago hearing something, sometimes when you're frustrated or you feel whatever, you want to have a tantrum, let yourself have it. Say, okay, I'm setting the clock for 20 minutes or whatever, and I'm going to just have my tantrum. It's like, let yourself feel your stuff and be your, whatever you're feeling. Like, yeah, because pushing anything down, that doesn't go well either. And I know I've been a famous person pushing things down. So, all right, so that is one, the victim archetype. And it again, your victim is not you. And one of the things actually that's really cool that a part of Embrace Your Archetypes is not only like learning and seeing this stuff, but I actually take you through activations and meditations and energy healing that works with clearing this stuff in your DNA, in your ancestral lineage. So this stuff starts to get cleared. Part of it you have to kind of notice, and some things you'll notice and some not, but it actually will start to clear this stuff. It's just like deciding, and then we do the energy work, which is awesome. All right, so the next one, another one with a very sexy name, is the Prostitute Archetype, right? I remember, I think yesterday I mentioned about that I felt like my prostitute was connected to my throat chakra. I remember saying that to my husband the first time. He was like, what the heck does that mean? So, the prostitute, right? So what is the prostitute? The prostitute shows up when you are, if you think about a prostitute, like a real life prostitute, they are, selling themselves for money. But for ourselves, like, it's about knowing and paying attention where we are selling ourselves short. So if we're doing something with an expectation for something to happen, it's like we need something to happen a certain way. So we're willing to compromise or do something that really doesn't feel good to us, but we're going to do it anyways because we really want this thing. And it really doesn't work out. But so an example of, I have a few examples of the prostitute archetype, but it's interesting. This is one that can challenge us a lot, right? So years back when my husband, he's had his own business for a long time, so sometimes when we think we need something, right? When you have a business and you think you maybe need money or you need an employee, whatever it is. So this guy there was a demo job in Shrewsbury, and like a couple towns over. My husband was like, oh, this is going to be a good job, but he read the contract, and in the contract, it said if he wasn't happy with something, he equipment and start doing the job himself. And it didn't ring right for my husband, and he trusted himself, even though he was really enticed by the amount of money he was going to make from this job. He said, this doesn't feel good. So this was like his prostitute, right? So the light side of the prostitute is when you hold your value, when you really honor yourself. And it feels really good when you do, but sometimes it can be tricky to notice. So what happened was he said no to that guy, and he knew the person that ended up taking the job, and it was a mess. It was a nightmare. And now, recently, right now, my husband's dealing with a situation with an employee who has been really seriously screwing things up, and he has a trucking business, and this guy has just like been doing some things that are not good. And my husband's like, well, I feel like we need him though, we're busy. And my daughter and her husband that are taking over the business, he had a talk with them to see what they thought, and they're like, no, we need to can him, we need to let him go. He's clearly being like creating a dangerous situation. And, you know, sometimes the wake-up call that people get is when they suddenly realize, oh, I just lost my job for whatever reason, and this is, you know, I don't know what's going to happen with him, but my husband was like, well, I need this person. And my daughter was like, no, this is not acceptable. So there's the challenges, right? Sometimes. And so one other really interesting story. So I've taught the archetypes course, this one under this name, will be the third time. I taught an archetypes course like before that had a little bit of a different name. But when I was teaching this course a couple of years ago, one of the women in my course, we had something come up. I had a rental agreement with her. I had a 2-year rental agreement, and then after 2 years, it was automatically going to increase to a little bit. You know, the rent was going to go up a little bit, and so she was also in my archetypes course. And so when it was time for the rent to start to go up again, she said, hey, you know, what about the rent? And, you know, and I said, oh, we already have an agreement. We signed it when we did the rental agreement. And she started complaining, and she was like, oh, but, you know, I don't remember that. I don't remember signing that. And can't we just keep it the same? And you had to do some repairs here. And I was like, oh boy, because I don't really like conflict. So I was like, oh boy, she's kind of being annoying. Maybe I should just give her what she wants. So that was my prostitute archetype. And for her, it was her victim. Like, I don't remember signing that. It's not my fault. I didn't do it. And I could hear her child archetype was like, I don't want to pay more rent. But as soon as I realized, I said, oh, this is the shadow of her archetype and my archetype. And I actually said it to her because I could. We were taking, you know, she was in the class together and I knew her well enough. And I said, huh, this is your, you know, I see what's going down, but if that's my shadow of my prostitute and your victim is in the shadow. And I said no. And I said, we're going to what it is. And that was like $4,800 worth of money. That wasn't about the money at all. It was about the principle and really speaking, being authentic to myself. And now that person actually is in other situations where they are renting out properties and things like that. So in the long run, it was actually probably a good lesson for her as well. So that is the prostitute. Let me know. Yes, keeping the faith, Jessica. Awesome. Yes. So I'll have to watch the replay. It's breaking up for me. Oh no, sorry, Lily Lore. You know, but it's always perfect, even if it doesn't feel perfect, right? So that is the prostitute archetype. So it's just paying attention to your values. So last year, like when the pandemic came, so our values can change, or they can, depends what's going on, right? Like last year when suddenly things shifted and like priorities probably changed a little bit, right? You know, the things that might have been a priority at one point suddenly shifted. I know I've talked to I know a lot of particularly women, but a lot of entrepreneurs, and many of them made huge shifts in their business. And some of it was like at first, you know, so sometimes when things happen at first, it's like, oh, my feet just it's like somebody pulled the rug out from under you. But then it's like, you know, actually, I was kind of really tired. That woman I talked to yesterday, Nancy Blyer, she you know, realized she was kind of tired. She makes beautiful spiritual tools, but she had been making them for a long time, and it gave her an opportunity to really to reevaluate. So the prostitute is about really like speaking your truth and really checking in, and you know the minute you sell yourself short. So like when I do courses or anything like that, like if I price or do any, it has to feel really good for me. Like there's times I do things for free and it feels really good. It's feeding me in some way. But if it doesn't feel good, it doesn't matter, you know, it's always what feels good to you and what feels right to you. So it's nobody else can make those decisions for you. But you always know when it's kind of like when somebody asks you for a favor, asks you something, and you really don't want to, and you say yes, and you feel it in the pit of your stomach. or you feel it a little later. That's your prostitute archetype. And you can always change your mind when you realize. And so a couple things that I learned, like strategies, if I was sometimes, so that can be like the people pleaser a little bit too, is to say, can I get back to you on that? Or let me think about it. Because sometimes we have the auto response answers. So this is, if you tend to be an auto responder, you just start practicing. Can I get back to you on that? All right. So, but you can see how the prostitute can affect everything: relationships, money, business, even health, right? A lot of stuff. And if you have children or, children, animal, it's boundaries. All right. So the next one is the child archetype. So the child archetype, there are multiple variations. I'm going to mention 6 different variations right now. And all the archetypes have light and shadow, right? So the shadow of the child, depending which child archetype you have, can be a little bit different. But it is essentially like, where are you being childish or not taking responsibility or not able to see like being responsibility. But the beautiful gift of the child, and actually this came up yesterday too with the interview with Nancy Blyer, is so a couple of years ago I saw a picture on Facebook of someone I know, and it had her 3-year-old was getting ready for preschool, waiting to go to school, and they had a sign and it said, "Hi, my name is whatever, I'm 3 years old, and when I grow up I want to be an elephant." And I was like, I love that. Like, that is awesome. So the child archetype holds your dreams, like holds your ability to know, and to create and to believe that the sky is the limit, right? How many of you want to like create and have like quantum creation, right? Let's create in the quantum. And that's something that's been talked about for. We want to manifest. We want to bring our visions to life, whatever it is, whether it's your fitness, your health, your relationships, your money, your business, your job, whatever it is, right? We want that stuff. It's part of being human. But part of it is like, it's our child that kind of helps us get there. It's the child that can help us hold that vision. But sometimes as children or at different points in our life, we got all excited about something and somebody popped our bubble. And so if you think about so the magical child archetype is one of them, right? Walt Disney is an amazing example of the magical child archetype. He just created this amazing place that is still a living, it's a living place that grows from the energy that he created. And by the way, I heard a couple of years ago he's actually became an ascended master, which is pretty cool. But the shadow of the magical child is magical thinking. It's like me sitting on my couch and thinking that my mail is going to bring itself to me or whatever. It's like kind of like not taking action. Although that does remind me of a couple of years ago, I was sitting in my living room in the early morning meditating, and I realized I left my coffee out on the Keurig, and I was like, oh, it would be lovely to have my coffee right here. So I heard the shower upstairs running. My husband came down. He had been ready to jump in the shower, and for whatever reason, he's never done it before or since, he came downstairs, went over to the Keurig, brought me my coffee, and went back up and took a shower. It's like, ooh, that was pretty awesome. So I'm not going to say you don't have to take actions, but I'm just saying but magical thinking, right? It's just, so that's the shadow of the magical child archetype. Now I have the divine child archetype. So the divine child is, can see the world through rosy colored glasses in a way, but I see the good in people for the most part. And that's a beautiful thing. But the shadow of it is also, I have a connection to the divine. You don't have to have the divine child to have a connection to the divine, but I do have a strong connection there. But the shadow is not always able to like defend myself from certain people and certain situations. It's like I can be blind to it. I can have the rosy colored glasses. And a couple of years ago, I was doing like a master class, and it was like maybe my first one ever. It was like day 2, and I went to get ready, and there was all this drama happening on Facebook, and somebody in this was, I don't know, she just started some weird drama and said she was protecting me and helping me, and people were after. It was crazy, and I was like, oh my God. And I messaged her, and I was like, please don't, like, this isn't, I know you think you're trying to help, but it's not really helping. But I stood up for myself. And even though it was a little scary in that moment, and then I realized like a day or 2 later, I said, oh, that was my divine child was being kind of challenged, and she rose in her power. So another one is Eternal Child, which my husband has. So the Eternal Child can be really fun and playful and remind us to be playful and youthful. But the Eternal Child can also be like the Peter Pan immature, and it can be immature in different areas of your life. So for some people, it might be about work and business. My husband is not. He's super responsible about that. So I would say maybe it's emotionally immature sometimes. So like I think I said yesterday, it can be like connected to our different chakras a little bit. So let's see. All right. Well, let's see some new comments. Let me just see. Okay. I feel guilty saying no. Cindy. Yes. Yep. A lot of people do. But when we say no to, when we say yes to someone else and we want to say no, we're putting them before us, which is, and I remember, I think it's Abraham Hicks, they said before, there was something like if somebody gets mad at you because you won't do something for them, it's like, well, you're going to get mad at me and tell me, or if someone says you're selfish because you won't do something for them because you want to do something for you, right? But learning to say no or to say yes when you want to say yes, right? Those can be tricky. And I remember years ago first starting to learn that from life coach Cheryl Richardson. I saw her on the Oprah Winfrey Show many years ago, and she was a huge inspiration for me, learning to say no and set boundaries. But it can be like a work in progress, right? Because maybe we're good at saying no to some people, but not to other people. But I will say, honestly, when I learned to say no and set boundaries for myself within the past couple of years, a lot with people, because I have a flexible business, and like my mother's like, oh, well, can you just bring me rides here and there? And I was like, finally I set boundaries, and that's when I really became even more, I felt like my business became even more of a business. I really stepped into it even more, like the business I have now, not my yoga studio. But so it's really important and it's powerful. And the other thing that happened when I set boundaries with my mother, so my mother has mental health issues as well. So it was a little bit of a challenge to say, well, Mom, let me help you get set up on the elder bus and the elder taxi or whatever. But after I did that, I said, Mom, I would rather spend my time together, not be driving you around. Like, I have my own business, I love you, but I'd rather spend my time with you doing fun things and not feeling like a cringe when my mother's calling. And after that, one of my daughters said, Mom, I have never seen Grandma so happy. It actually empowered her as well. So saying no can be very empowering for everybody. So really powerful. So anyway, the child archetypes, as I was starting to talk, there's the orphan child. So the orphan child, may have an actual situation where they were orphaned in some way when they were younger. And I have, it's going to sound funny, I have like sister that's an orphan child, because I can match family, and her father was, I don't know where his father was, but her mother died, and her brother was their uncle. So she was an orphan child, literally. And she is really good at creating families, like wherever she goes, like her friends are her family. So interesting things can come out of that, but also the shadow, sometimes they can seek inappropriate like families or people. Like if you think about like gang members or find a family way, you are welcome, Cindy. You're so welcome. All right, the wounded child. So the wounded child can blame dysfunctional adult life and relationships on childhood wounds, right? That's like the victim carried through the wounded child and might resist forgiveness. But the light side awakens ability to forgive and even maybe be more compassionate in a desire to help others, right? Divine child. I don't always say no to the good side, everyone. Yep. Yeah, some toxic people. Yeah, so that we learn, right? We learn by these that occur. And the good thing is we always have more opportunities, right? So I talk about the spiritual path or even the life path. I think of it like a mountain. So we're going around and we're going up a little bit more each time. So sometimes the view might look similar, but we've evolved and shifted. So now the wounded child. So a couple of years ago, I had a client, I did like a little call with her, and she had been like in a lot of pain for 5 years. And after we talked, I realized she had the addict and the wounded child. And she had, like, her wounded child had gotten such a hold on her that she was getting addicted to being wounded. So she had created this like mess of herself between the addict and the wounded child that was causing a lot of havoc. So okay, have to catch up on replay because my son called. Okay, Dana, so yeah, come back and check out the replay. All right, so then what else? Eternal child, magical, divine, nature child. Okay, so the nature child, right, they sound kind of sweet and innocent, but they may have tendency, they may abuse animals or environment and people. And so the woman I had on yesterday on Light Up Your Life, she has the nature child archetype. She works with herbs and she makes powerful healing tools, which I'm attached here, so I don't have any here. If you look at the show, yesterday's show, I put if you look at it in the Nourish Soul thread, there's a link in the comments if you do want to watch her show. She makes some awesome stuff, and she shows you how to make a smudge wand. So, but she uses animal feathers and bones and things like that. But so the light side though is the friendship with animals and a connection to nature. Yeah. So those are some of the child archetypes. So I can at times like relate to the magical child a little and the divine. Those can be similar. So, so there can be different flavors of the child archetypes. So that is 3, and now the last one is the saboteur. And even though the saboteur sounds like these other than the child, these can sound like, oh, ick, right? The prostitute, the victim, and the saboteur. But the saboteur is also really important. I know, Jessica, yesterday you were talking about the perfectionist was one of the ways that you So when you notice your saboteur, like something up, oh God, it's just giving you, instead of taking it personally, right, which sometimes we take it personally, we say, oh, I'm a bad person because I did whatever, so I'm not doing this thing. But if we actually just take a step back, and so wounded sounds like my boyfriend. No one cares when he gets his way. Acts like the victim grew up in orphanage. Yeah, probably if he's got it sounds like the the wounded, or it could be the orphan child. Yeah, one or the other. Could be one or the other. Saboteur is there to give us, first of all, just telling us to pay attention. We are not our archetypes. They are energy that, it's like a thought that flows through. The archetypes are, in our field, we the ones are archetypes, but they are not us. So we can step back. I don't know if I mentioned this in one of the days, but think about, I think I did on day one, stepping back a little bit and just noticing, oh, that's my saboteur showing up. Isn't that interesting? And if we don't think we already know, I actually just saw a post on Facebook about this too, but I talked about it the other day as well, like at the beginning of this 3-day thing is, you know, to kind of like forget what we know in a way, like don't think we already know, because we're more open to something new, to see something in a new way possibly, right? So you can, when you notice the saboteur, like what we've already probably had our old ways that we've, you know, responded to it, right? Sometimes we just go and like bury it, you know, we try to avoid it, whatever we do. So, but if you think about it, there's a reason. So maybe we might need more information before we can move forward. Or so it's like almost like we set up a roadblock for ourselves because we might be misaligned in some way. Like sometimes people will get annoyed with their physical bodies, right? Oh, I can't do this thing. But I mean, I've taught yoga for many years and I've studied the physical body a lot, and your body, when it's tight, it's trying to protect itself. It's trying to help you. It's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to help you. And if we just force ourselves, we can actually end up creating more damage, more problems. So when we just try to push through in anything in our life and it's misaligned, right? It's like a friend of mine sometimes, I think on one of her like website, it says talking about drinking through a bent straw, right? So it's kind of the same thing. So something is not aligned. So the saboteur is the thing that gives us the first, you know, place to just notice, what's going on here? And it can be maybe trying to direct your attention to something else. It might be trying to, you know, I've had times when I remember, like, I think last year, like with the office upstairs here that I'm in, I can look out onto my garden in the back, and I would say like, oh, I look out there, I'm like, oh, it's kind of a lot of weeds out there, but I really don't feel like weeding. So I just kind of, I let it sit a little bit. And then the next day I was like, I feel like going outside. And I wandered up to the garden. I was like, oh, I really feel like weeding. And I started weeding and I had the best time. I actually like, so I allowed the timing of it. I didn't force it. So, and then there's other times when what the thing to do is to take action, right? We might just be feeling stuck and action is the thing to take. So, so there's reasons why the saboteur comes up, and there's many ways, right? It can be getting distracted with TV, relationship issues, money, stress, etc., other people's stuff. That's a big one. Like Cindy had said, sometimes hard to say no, but if we want things for ourselves, we have to create time and energy and a container for it. But if we're getting pulled off task a lot, it can be really tough for us to do create the things we really want. Overbooking or underbooking yourself, overwhelm, procrastination, exhaustion, clutter. So there's lots of ways. In some ways you probably might be more disciplined, and other ways less so. So it's called the saboteur for a reason, and it can be tough sometimes to see things for ourselves. And that's one of the reasons, like I said, why this, the course, Embrace Your Archetype. So I'm going to talk about that for a few minutes now. We talked about the 4 different archetypes. I'm going to just share a little bit more about Embrace Your Archetypes. So it's so powerful, because even being in a group like us right here, even you guys like posting in the threads, one person says something and someone says, oh, I can relate to that. So we help each other, we guide each other, we can see things in each other, and it's a place for support. If you think about it, right, the people, our families and our loved ones, or the people we work with, they're attached to outcomes in the shifts, and sometimes it can be a little, learning to say no to someone that maybe is used to you saying yes, but it's so powerful, and it's so, like I said, it's like shifting right down to the DNA. So we have the power of the group, the activations, the meditations. And it's really so many, as I said the other day, we're really, as we're finishing up 2021, getting ready to step into 2022, you know, what are you feeling? Do you want to step even more into our purpose? You know, more of us are really being called, and I think that was one of the big gifts of the pandemic. There were, you know, a lot of things, a lot of shifts, but people's values, many people are like, what's really important to me at the end of the day? And so if that feels like you, and you know, so some of the gifts of knowing how the archetypes are influencing you is, that I've found, is life just starts to make sense like it never did before. You accept and understand yourself at a whole new level and stop trying to, you know, do things that you're not. I think I said the other day in energy medicine school, I remember we learned, like, I don't have the chakra for that, but you know, that's one of the ways the saboteur can show up, right? When we're just wasting time or spending time doing things that we really, that aren't aligned, that aren't part of us, that we don't even really care about. And you start trusting yourself more. You understand what lights you up, and you start to see your gifts more and more. So if you're someone that, you know, you want to live a full life, a full, well-loved life, and you want more clarity around your purpose, if you like mastery, I love mastery and personal growth, and you have dreams that you haven't manifested all the way yet, I would love to have you to join me. So the course starts next Thursday. And I even put in, there's a special module on manifestation, because it includes manifesting money and more, because it's a lot easier to do the work we love when we have the resources to sustain us. And as I said, we're going to be working on clearing stuff and upgrading your DNA, your cellular, working with your ancestral patterns and timelines. It is, and right now I have a couple, as I mentioned, if you register by October 30th, I think I said the wrong day the other day, which is Saturday, so a couple more days, you upgrade automatically to VIP, which means an hour session plus a 20-minute follow-up with me, and clients have had huge breakthroughs. Like, I do coaching and people have huge breakthroughs in sessions. So that would be like an extra bonus. There's some other bonuses in there, and each of the things we talked about today, though, for a module in and of themselves, and we will be doing powerful activations that are going to help you really get clear, and yeah, so it's amazing. So I would love to have you join if it resonates, and then also if you pay in full, there's an extra $100 off if you use the code early100. So I put a link down, I pinned the post, I think it worked, that has the link to the course and the details. And if you share this, the course, you'll be added in to win a prize I will draw tomorrow, and you could win a 20-minute call with me too, and I will look through these and see who else comments in the next 24 hours. So does anybody have any last minute thoughts or questions, or before we go? Let me see. Okay, Jessica on Facebook. I have to watch the replay. Let me just make sure. You're welcome. Wounded. All right, so let's see. Can different experiences in our life cause multiple energies to come through? After having and getting through COVID, large crowds of people getting too close create anxiety. Okay, so can different experiences cause multiple energies to come through? I'm not sure what you mean by that, Jessica. After getting through COVID, large crowds can create anxiety. Well, that, you are not the only one. There's actually one of my coaching clients had COVID last year and had a lot of follow. A lot of people. There's been a lot of people that have had a lot of traumatic experiences after getting COVID and different things, the isolation, different stuff. So yeah, that can definitely have an effect, and actually this course could help you with that as well, because that's really yeah, the anxiety. But I don't understand when can different experiences cause multiple energies. Oh, it's weird. My ear just started ringing when I was reading that. I mean, I guess in general, different experiences can definitely cause different energies to come through. And so part of what we're kind of talking about today a little bit is we're talking about boundaries. So even when it comes not just to people, but energy, we can set boundaries with energy. So, all right. Let's see, anything else? All right, so Lily Laura shared on Instagram. Awesome, thank you. All right, so I think that is all. All right. Our archetypes change with time. That's a good question. All right, let me just see. All right, behavior, and once we identify our archetypes. Yes, absolutely. It's yes. And can our archetypes change with time? That is a good question. So I will answer with my experience. So when I started working with the archetypes 11 years ago, I thought I had, I wrote down, I thought I had this certain list of archetypes. My experience is that it became a little more clear that some that I thought I had weren't the ones I had, but they were a little bit different. I don't believe, at least what I've experienced so far, that the archetypes we have change. Like I'll give you an example. So I have the Queen archetype. I believe I'm probably always going to have the Queen archetype. I don't think my archetype is going to go away. However, my Queen archetype has evolved a lot. I am not the same, my Queen is not the same Queen that I was at 5 years old, or even 50 years old, or even like last year. So we can evolve our archetypes over time. We can work with them. Now, we are evolving people. We're in 3D, we're evolving to 5D. And probably when we get to 5D, whenever that is, and we'll still be in our human bodies, that can probably affect things. We might not need archetypes in 5D. I don't really know, but I feel like maybe not. But at this point in our lifetimes, I'm thinking even, so far our archetypes are still our archetypes that we were born with. However, they do change, and we change them. They're like a field of energy. So what we put in or take out, or how we affect it, we can affect that energy field. So hopefully that made sense to you. Let's see what else. Childhood experience and, okay, good, makes perfect sense, yes. Childhood experience and current events in life. Yes, everything has an influence. But the thing that's really cool is when you start to understand and see it, and see this about yourself, and to see it about other people, right? Because we don't live in a vacuum, even though we might, maybe we do a little bit right now sometimes, right? But other people as well, like we really can see that. We see things in other people. And even when we can see, it can even help with like when we see the shadow like in another person, we can like be more accepting too, like being more accepting of ourselves and other people, and know, oh yeah, that's the shadow of that. And it can just, I don't know, it's interesting. I find it's like fun and it's interesting, but it's also really like so empowering to everything in your life. So fear of getting it again, COVID. Yep. Yeah. So I'm sure you are. I'm sure there's others right along there with you, Jessica. It feels like there's a field, there's like an energetic field carrying that energy that can be cleared though. So we're winding down. All right, so it has been awesome. I've had so much fun sharing this information with you guys. Like I said, tomorrow I will be sharing the 2 winners. I will be reaching out to Lily Laura and to, I think of her name. And thanks for joining. And, you know, the link is below if you want to check it out. I would like and have an awesome night, day, whenever you are watching it. Bye.